Excellencies, distinguished ambassadors, heads of missions of international organizations, it is my distinct pleasure to welcome you to this magnificent palace. I trust you have a great tour de palace earlier. Today, we are not only celebrating the renovation of a palace, we are also revealing a profound time capsule from a different era and a repository of history. This isn't just a palace, it is a storybook, a chronicle of our triumph, our struggle, and even a few of our trials and tribulations. Now, many might think this palace was built just because Emperor Haile Selassie sought to build a grand and new edifice. This is indeed an undertone. History tells us that every leader possesses their own vision and ambitions. We believe that the idea for building this palace is deeply entrenched with the emperor's desire to herald a new era of modernization. It also came in the aftermath of Mussolini's invasion. This, with no doubt, was a message to the world. We may have been subject to bitter years of brutal occupation, but we are back to global politics stronger than ever. The other reason was to make this place part of a grand plan to make Addis Ababa the capital city of Africa, a beacon of freedom shining bright for African countries being liberated from the yoke of colonialism, and consequently a leading international hub. Excellencies and ambassadors, this place was a product of global minds. With a strange coincidence or providence, the commencement of the project in 1948 coincided with the foundation of the International Union of Architects. Under the aegis of this new institution, an international competition was held, and hundreds of architects submitted their blueprints. An Ethiopian-based Swiss gentleman by the name of Edward Perry was lucky to win the competition. Thereafter, Addis Ababa became a magnet for notable talents. Henry Chomet, a French architect, designed the Ethiopian National Theatre. The Italian Arturo Mesdemi designed the African Hall. Solol Boni, an Israeli contractor, oversaw the construction of Addis Ababa Stadium. And the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, where I used to work, was undertaken by an Ethiopian, Michael Chodros, and his associates. The Hilton Addis, right in front of the palace, was designed by the American architect Charles Warner. These contributions from global architects and engineers attested Addis Ababa's status as a diplomatic capital and a hub for global collaboration of gifted minds. Excellencies, ambassadors, in these venerated halls, history reverberates from the grandeur of imperial assemblies to the sophisticated arts of diplomacy. This palace has witnessed the ebbs and flows of Ethiopian and African diplomacy. It has hosted luminaries from across Africa, including President Jomo Kenyatta, Kwame Nkrumah, Milton Obote, Gamal Abdel Nasser, Julius Nyerere, Ahmed Ben Bella, Secretary Leopold Sedar Senghor, as well as freedom fighters such as Nelson Mandela and Samora Machel, among others. Walking from the palace to the African Hall, alongside these leaders, was like traversing between Ethiopia's aspiration of Pan-Africanism and the wisdom of men of letters and African leaders of that era, where their conversation defined and shaped the fate of our continent. Many world leaders were hosted in this palace. Vice President Richard Nixon was a guest of honor during the inauguration in 1957. That same year, Joseph Tito, the former Yugoslavian leader and a close confidant of the emperor, also visited this palace. King Paul of Greece and King Hussein of Jordan graced these halls in 1959 and 1960. Notably, Crown Prince Akihito of Japan offered the service of a garden to create a Japanese garden within the palace ground. In a very historical coincidence, it took us many years as Ethiopians to have a generation of leaders that are both statesmen and as well as gardeners. 3 years later, 1963, the palace played a pivotal role in welcoming the African head of states who convened in Addis Ababa to establish the organization of the African Union. This is the place where those brief but decisive conversations between the emperor and president's secretary were made. The emperor, holding the hands of secretary, said, "Mon fils," or he said, "My son." President Toure replied, "Oui, ma père." Yes, my father. These magical words have won the hearts and minds of leaders and bridged the rift between the Casablanca and the Monrovia blocks, subsequently heralding the first continental organization in Africa. The visit of Queen Elizabeth II, 1965, was a major event, prompting a significant expansion of the palace to accommodate the Queen. Moreover, the year 1966 witnessed a flurry of diplomatic activities with visits from King Olaf of Norway, French President Charles de Gaulle, Polish Prime Minister Ochab, and many other dignitaries. 1968, a momentous meeting took place between the Emperor Haile Selassie and his Iranian counterpart, Shah Pahlavi. The early 70s were difficult years for Ethiopia. This palace has witnessed the fall of its founder, its builder, with a bit of melancholy and dramatic exit. The Derg, while renaming the palace from Jubilee to National Palace, preserved its collection, albeit hidden from the public. I would like to offer a special mention of a great personality by the name of Brigadier General Fresenbet Amdi and his dedicated staff, who ensured the continuity of the palace. The palace keepers, many guardians of history, civil servants with extraordinary patriotism and professionalism, preserved the palace for generations to come. It is important to acknowledge that there has always been a high regard among Ethiopians and their institutions, a long tradition of preserving historical roots. No matter that we face difficult circumstances, but we are always keen to preserve our treasures and artifacts. Let me share with you a personal experience encounter in 2015 during the visit of Barack Obama to Ethiopia in 2015. The president walked through these halls after he had an intimate encounter with Lucy, our common distant relative. He went straight to the throne and asked us if the curtain that covered the throne could be unveiled. Then he stood there and gazed and asked if the throne belongs to the emperor. That was the first time that I saw the throne. I have recently learned at one moment the Derg attempted to destroy the throne with a revolutionary spirit, so to say. The throne was preserved against the odds, thanks to the courage of a lone Ethiopian engineer who defied the order of Mengistu Haile Mariam, a brutal dictator. Excellencies, the palace compound also housed an animal sanctuary, most notable the den of the Black Lions, once a symbol of imperial power, captivated many visiting dignitaries, and a spirit that resonated with the Pan-African Black Lions movement, extending its influence to South Africa anti-apartheid struggle. The decision to open the Jubilee Palace to the public view demonstrates Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's profound understanding of the palace's true values. He understood that history is not something to be locked in the treasure box of a palace, but something to be celebrated and cherished, to learn from and to build upon. It is on this spirit of continuity and modernization that the construction of the Chaka project, that many of you assume have visited, was commenced. The Chaka project aims to amplify ongoing efforts to modernize Ethiopia's infrastructure, a development that creates a future where we honor our past, embrace modernity, and build a truly prosperous Ethiopia. The ongoing reconstruction of this project and Addis Ababa also resonates with the continuous development of the city. Addis Ababa, for an obvious reason, was a different place back then. The emperor employed an Armenian architect by the name of Musa Minas, who have a very unique name here in Ethiopia. I'm not going to tell you that. Who helped in transforming the city, turning those humble huts and Toulouse into a metropolis with villas and two-story buildings. May I seize this moment to extend my heartfelt appreciation for embassies, missions, and international organizations who wholeheartedly supported the current Addis Ababa city reconstruction project, and thank you so much for that. Excellencies, ambassadors, this palace, now reborn, will not only serve as a living proof to our history, but also a vibrant center of tourist attraction, diplomatic function, cultural exchange, a platform for dialogue and collaboration. It will be a place where scholars and artists can delve into the depths of our past, and future generations would connect with the legacy of those who came before us. Finally, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed for making this a reality, and to the French government, in particular President Emmanuel Macron, for his invaluable support and partnership in this endeavor. This project is a testament to the enduring friendship and cooperation between our two countries. I would also like to use this moment to thank Ethiopian developers who participated in the renovation of this palace. Their contribution has been indeed very valuable. What we have seen is that this palace has served to forge a relationship between countries, to build unity, expand multilateralism, and pledge for the call of liberation. The diamonds, the golds, the artifacts you saw are antiques, yet the spirit of the diplomacy of our forefathers is still alive, waiting for us to take it to its new height. With that spirit, let us build upon the legacy of our ancestors as evidences in this palace and strive to build relationship best cemented on understanding, unity, peace, and prosperity. Happy New Year, and I thank you.